You push open a quiet conference room door. 6 people are already seated. A single memo sits in the center of the table, clipped to a thin folder. Your name is on the approval line. If you sign it, an investigation expands and absorbs a full team by Monday. If you hesitate, months of work cools down, and the case becomes pending review. No one speaks. The air conditioning runs too cold. A wall clock ticks at 7:41 p.m. You don't realize what this moment will change yet, but you will. Level 1. You stepped into a training building that smells like disinfectant and burnt coffee. The hallway lights are bright and flat. Doors are numbered. Every room looks identical. You sit at a desk with a thick policy manual, a legal workbook, and a stack of printed forms. This is where your role is supposed to begin. You learn the language first. Not the job, the language. Authority is minimal. Access is controlled. Everything is supervised. The new constraint is evaluation. Everything is recorded. Attendance, tests, writing samples, performance notes. From the outside, this process looks clean and simple. Inside, it's a constant measurement loop. Pressure builds fast. Sleep becomes scheduled in narrow windows, early mornings, long days. You carry the manuals back to your room and highlight rules you barely understand. You think you're being trained to investigate, but something else is being trained first. Compliance. That detail will matter later. You pass the assessments. You move forward, but the real pressure hasn't started yet. Level 2. You walk into your first field office, and the sound hits you first. Printers running, phones vibrating on desks, a low, constant hum of conversations that stop when someone important walks by. You're shown a workstation under fluorescent lights, a thin chair, a computer that takes too long to load, a small nameplate that makes your role feel real. Now you're an agent. Your authority increases, but your freedom doesn't. You receive a caseload that looks manageable at first. Then it doubles. 10 files, then 20. Each file has its own forms, its own deadlines, its own review chain. The new constraint is documentation discipline. Every paragraph has to match approved phrasing. Every claim must be supported. Every decision must be defensible later. The system doesn't reward effort. It rewards language that survives review. Pressure turns physical in small ways. Dry eyes from screens, tension in your jaw during write-ups. You sit late at your desk while the office empties, the overhead lights dimming automatically in sections. You make a decision you didn't expect to make this early. Do you submit a report that's good enough, or do you stay until it's perfect? If you submit too early, it returns marked up and your file reflects it. If you stay too late, your performance slips tomorrow. Either way, the system notices. You choose perfect. The building is silent when you leave. And you think this is normal now. It isn't. Level 3. You arrive for a morning briefing in a small room with a whiteboard and stale donuts. A supervisor speaks in short sentences. A calendar on the wall shows the week blocked in meetings. Your role changes. Now you're attached to active investigations, not just internal files. You gain access to more rooms, more briefings, more case material. But the constraint becomes legal gravity. Everything you touch has a chain. Who reviewed it, when it was logged, where it can be referenced. You start traveling between spaces, office to hallway, hallway to vehicle, vehicle to another building's interview room with the blinds half closed. You're not told everything. You're given what you need. Compartmentalization becomes routine. Pressure becomes uncertainty. Reports conflict. People misremember. According to investigators, timelines can shift when new information arrives, but the paperwork still expects clean lines. You make another decision. Do you escalate a contradiction in the file, knowing it could slow the case, or do you let it sit, hoping it resolves later? If you escalate, you trigger meetings in scrutiny. If you don't, you risk a fracture that appears later when it hurts more. You escalate. A meeting gets added to your calendar within an hour. That decision will matter later. Level 4. You sit in a parked government vehicle outside an unremarkable building. The engine is off. The cabin light is dim. A radio crackles softly. Your role changes again. You're no longer just completing tasks, you're coordinating between tasks, people, and timelines. You're trusted with more context, more responsibility. The new constraint is pace. The work doesn't come in a straight line, it comes in bursts. Quiet days that turn into urgent nights. You return to the office and your desk becomes a landing zone. Case files, memos, sticky notes, a calendar full of back-to-back briefings. This is where fatigue becomes institutional. Not dramatic, just constant. You stop telling friends when you're free because you don't know. You stop explaining what you do because you can't. Isolation forms quietly. You think the pressure is the investigation, but the pressure is the schedule, and the schedule is a system. Something unusual happens. You start noticing what gets rewarded. Not outcomes, not truth. Stability, predictable reporting, clean documentation, low risk. You don't realize what this means yet. Level 5. You walk into a larger conference room with a screen showing performance numbers, not names, numbers, case closures, time to resolution, open file counts. Your role shifts into senior agent territory. Now you review others' work, you mentor new agents, you sit closer to supervisors, you speak more in briefings. You have influence, but you still don't have final control. The new constraint is optics inside the institution. A case isn't just an investigation, it's a resource argument, it's a liability calculation, it's a metric. This is something people inside institutions eventually notice. The mission statements talk about ideals. Inside, the daily reality talks about risk. Pressure changes shape. You feel it as quiet restraint. You learn when to speak and when to let a meeting end without a fight. You learn the skill of looking calm while absorbing impossible workload. You learn to sound certain even when you're not. You face a decision that feels minor. A new agent asks to pursue an additional lead. It could strengthen the file. It could expand the scope. If you approve, the case grows and the team's bandwidth shrinks. If you deny, you keep the timeline intact. You look at the calendar. You look at the open file count. You approve it. Then you shorten another task to make room. The consequence is immediate. More work, more pressure, less sleep. The investigation looks stable. For now. Level 6. You step into a supervisor's office where the door closes with a heavy click. The room is warmer than the hallway. A small fan runs on the desk beside a stack of folders. You're promoted into supervision. Now you manage people, not just cases. You approve leave. You assign workloads. You sit in leadership calls where priorities shift without warning. Authority expands. So does accountability. The new constraint is metrics with consequences. Now numbers attached to you personally. You feel it during quarterly reviews. You hear it in phrasing like resource utilization and case productivity. From the outside, Leadership looks like control. Inside, it's exposure. Pressure becomes moral tension, not about right versus wrong in some dramatic way, about trade-offs. You can't staff everything. You can't pursue everything. You choose what moves forward and what quietly waits. You're asked to sign off on a resource request. If you approve, another unit loses staff. If you deny, your team carries a caseload that's already heavy. You sign. A memo gets generated. Another supervisor replies with one line. Noted. That's it. But the ripple spreads. Someone else's schedule breaks. Someone else's case slows down. The system is watching, and it responds without emotion. Level 7. You sit under dim lighting in an operations room late at night. Monitors glow with timelines and status updates. A few agents work quietly, headphones on, typing notes into a database. Your role is now program level. You oversee multiple investigations across groups. Dozens of files move through your week. Authority becomes broader. Access becomes wider. You're invited to higher-level briefings where priorities get named and renamed. The new constraint is scarcity at scale. You don't have enough people. You don't have enough hours. You don't have enough flexibility to chase everything that matters. Pressure becomes numbness. You start feeling the work is weight rather than purpose. Not because you care less, because the volume is constant. A major case enters your lane. It has momentum, it has history, it has a thick file in multiple briefings scheduled. Then the pattern breaks. A legal review comes back. Guidance changes. Analysts believe the shift will alter how the case can be pursued. Months of work becomes fragile. The file doesn't care about effort. It cares about what survives review. You watch teams get reassigned in real time. Calendars update. Meetings cancel. Other meetings appear. No speech. No drama. Just movement. This is where it gets complicated. You remember something from the beginning, a hidden truth you didn't fully understand in training. You thought the system exists to solve cases. Later you realize the system exists to manage risk. You don't say it out loud, you just start seeing it everywhere. Level 8. You enter a secure briefing floor where the hallways are quieter and the doors are heavier. You place your phone in a locker. You pass through another checkpoint. The air feels still. Executive meetings, budget discussions, interagency coordination. Now you're closer to the top than you ever expected. Authority becomes structural. You influence where staffing goes, what gets funded, what gets prioritized. The new constraint is visibility. Every decision becomes recordable. Every approval can be audited months later. A simple signature can become a future headline inside an internal report. Pressure becomes distance. You speak carefully. You choose words like tools. You watch how others perform calmness. You realize performance is not optional, it's survival. You face a decision that seems administrative. A public-facing posture must be approved. Nothing dramatic, just phrasing. If you approve a more aggressive posture, your teams take on higher exposure. If you approve a restrained posture, the institution looks cautious, but the risk lowers. You approve restraint. The consequence is immediate. A case slows. A team feels it. Someone complains quietly in the hallway. But no one challenges the decision openly because everyone understands what you're really approving. Not a case strategy, a risk position. You think the pressure has peaked, but it hasn't. Not yet. Level 9. You return to the conference room from the beginning. Same sterile lighting, same cold air, same clock ticking. 6 people waiting. The memo in front of you. The approval line with your name. Now you understand what you're holding. This isn't a case decision. It's an institutional decision.
If you sign it, an investigation expands and consumes resources. If you hesitate, the system reallocates quietly anyway, with different implications. You're not choosing whether the system moves, you're choosing how it moves, and whether your name is attached. You read the memo again. 2 pages, a few bullet points, a timeline, a request for reallocation starting Monday. It's clean. It looks simple. Inside, it isn't. You make the decision. You sign. A pen stroke, a quiet shift. The consequence happens faster than anyone outside the system would expect. Calendars update, staffing changes, a different team inherits the pressure. You watch faces remain controlled, no reaction, because this is normal here. This is how the machine turns. And now the delayed truth pays off. You thought the system is built to chase truth, but truth is often a liability inside structure. What matters is what can be documented, defended, and controlled. That is why cases sometimes fail without anyone being careless. That is why momentum can vanish after one legal review. That is why the system protects continuity first. You are not the system. You are part of the system. The system existed before you. It will exist after you. You leave the room. The hallway is empty again. Too empty. You walk past dark offices where desk lamps glow over paperwork. You pass an archive room with gray boxes stacked to the ceiling. Entire histories contained in cardboard and barcode labels. These moments rarely appear in official reports. The report will show the decision. It will not show the temperature of the room, the silence, the fatigue behind your eyes, the microsecond where you considered hesitation and rejected it. You reach your desk. Another file is waiting. A new email arrives. Another meeting is added. You think this moment defines the system, but it is only one moment in a much larger process. The psychological continuation loop is real. The system has seen this pattern before. It will see it again. Weeks later, in another building, a new applicant sits at a desk. Forms spread out, employment history, financial disclosures, background investigation paperwork. They look nervous. They think they're applying for a job. They don't realize they're entering a structure that will reshape how they think. They don't know about the conference room. They don't know about the memo. They don't know that one day, if they climb high enough, they'll hold a pen over a signature line and feel the room go cold. And when that day comes, the system will be ready for them, because the system is always ready. It keeps moving. It always does. If you were sitting in that chair, would you sign the memo? Subscribe if you want to step inside another system.